Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Premanande Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We're reading text number 5 of Nectar of Instruction. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta.
Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta.
Dikshasti chet pranatibhischa bhajantamisham.
Dikshasti chet pranatibhischa bhajantamisham.
Sushrushraya bhajana vigyanamanyam anya. Nindati sunyam ridam ipsita sangalabhya. Chant.
Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta.
Krishnesti yasya giritam manasadriyeta.
Dikshasti chet pranatibhischa bhajantamisham.
Dikshasti chet pranatibhischa bhajantamisham. Sushrushraya bhajana vigyam ananyamanya. Nindati sunyam ridam ipsita sangalabhya.
Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta.
Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta. Dikshasti chet pranatibhischa bhajantamisham. Sushrushraya bhajana vigyam ananyamanya. Nindati sunyam ridam ipsita sangalabhya. Dikshasti yasya giritam manasadriyeta. Dikshasti chet pranatibhischa bhajantamisham. Sushrushraya bhajana vigyam ananyamanya. Nindati sunyam ridam ipsita sangalabhya. Okay, translation. One should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation and is engaged in worshipping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. All right, so we're reading the purport. We're up to the part where we're going to hear about Satyaraj Khan. When Srila Satyaraj Khan, a great devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, asked the Lord how a Vaishnava could be recognized, the Lord replied, Prabhu kahe, Yanra mukhe suni ekabara. Puja, Shrestha. If one hears a person say even once the word Krishna, that person should be accepted as the best man out of the common people. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, Itaiva yanra mukhe eka Krishna nam seta Vaishnava. One who is interested in chanting the holy name of Krishna, or who by practice likes to chant Krishna's names, should be accepted as a Vaishnava and offered respects, as such, at least within one's mind. One of our friends, a famous English musician, has become attracted to chanting the holy names of Krishna. And even in his records, he has several times mentioned the holy name of Krishna. At his home, he offers respect to pictures of Krishna and also to the preachers of Krishna consciousness. In all respects, he has a very high estimation for Krishna's name and Krishna's activities. Therefore, we offer respects to him without reservation, for we are actually seeing that this gentleman is advancing gradually in Krishna consciousness. Such a person should be shown respect. The conclusion is that anyone who is trying to advance in Krishna consciousness by regularly chanting the holy name should be recognized by Vaishnavas. On the other hand, we have witnessed that some of our contemporaries who are supposed to be great preachers have gradually fallen into the material conception of life because they have failed to chant the holy name of the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada begins by quoting this incident, the conversation which is there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Satyaraj Khan. Satyaraj Khan used to bring devotees from Kalinagram. They're from a place called Kalinagram, which is in Gaudiya. You can go. I went there just recently. We had some kind of pilgrimage there. Brought some people from Mayapur to see this place. There's practically nothing there now, Kalinagram. But it's still called Kalinagram. There's like a Gaudiya Mat temple there, and some ruins, and there's a big lake. Anyway, it's called Kalinagram, and Satyaraj Khan, he was living there in times of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they would go every year to Jagannath Puri for Rath Yatra. So Satyaraj Khan had gone there to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I'm in family life, I'm a fallen man, how can I make advancement? So at that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him that you should constantly chant the holy name and serve the Vaishnavas. So Satyaraj Khan then asked Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how to recognize a Vaishnava. And so we heard here, we just read, anyone who one time utters the name Krishna, you should consider him a Vaishnava. He's a devotee. So it's a very nice instruction. It's a very merciful instruction. But we should understand it properly, that he's chanted the holy name, he's uttered the holy name one time. It means he's begun his devotional path. He's on the devotional path. Srila Prabhupada used to say, when they start to chant Hare Krishna, that is the beginning of their spiritual life. As soon as you get a person to chant, teach them to chant, just to say the holy name, then their spiritual life has begun. There's a famous pastime about Gadadhar. Is it Gadadhar? Gadadhar? Who was it? Gadadhar? Not Gadadhar Pandit, but another. Gadadhar Khan? No, not Gadadhar Khan. Anyway, there was one other person, Gadadhar. So he was living in this village where the Mohammedan ruler was particularly inimical, didn't like devotees. But this Gadadhar went into the home of this Muslim ruler in the middle of the night. And he went into his house and he yelled, I want you to chant the holy name of the Lord. I want to hear you chant Hare Krishna. And the Muslim man woke up on his bed and he sat up and he recognized Gadadhar. He said, oh Gadadhar, go home. I will chant Hare Krishna another day. And Girarhari, oh, very good. You have chanted the holy name. Your spiritual life has begun. And so in this way, he got the man to chant the holy name. So just chanting one time, it's the beginning of their spiritual life. So Satyaraj Khan, you should understand, he was a Hindu, but he was given that title, Khan. The Muslim rulers, just like Sanatan and Rupa, they had names like Dabil Khas, Sakar, Malik. These names were given. So this one, Satyaraj Khan, Khan wasn't his name, but there was a name given to him by the Mohammedan rulers who were ruling Bengal at that time. And so he was actually a great devotee. And of course, Lord Chaitanya told him, just chant the name one time, your spiritual life has begun. And Prabhupada then talks about how George Harrison in England, how he would chant the holy name, and he met the devotees, and he made records with Hare Krishna mantra, and generally he really helped our movement a lot. He did a lot for the Krishna consciousness movement. He paid for the first printing of the Krishna book. So that was a very big thing. He paid the whole amount for printing the first volume of the Krishna book. And then Prabhupada wanted him to write an introduction. So you can read about that if you read Shamsundar Prabhu's book, Chasing the Rhinos with the Swamiji. So he talks about it. He said George, he actually didn't want to write the introduction for the book. But Prabhupada wanted him to write the introduction for the book. So Shamsundar was working with him, to get him to do it. So actually Shamsundar, he wrote most of the introduction. And George made a few changes or added something or whatever. You can see at the end, he put, all you need is love, he added that. So he did some things like that. But Shamsundar had to convince him to do it. And he wanted to quote people. George wanted to quote some, because he'd been reading some Mayavadi books. He'd read like Autobiography of a Yogi, that book, Paramahamsa Yogananda. So he'd read that, he'd been influenced by that a little bit. And of course he'd been with the Maharishi a little bit, So there was a lot of things in him, Mayavadi things. So he wanted to put something in, but Shamsundar convinced him, keep it pure, don't put anything about Paramahansa Yogananda or any of these people. These people have nothing to do with Krishna. Anyway, he did a lot of service, he certainly did. He paid the money for the printing of the book, and then he bought the Bhaktivedanta Manor. And of course, before that, he'd made the records with the devotees, and he helped them begin when they opened the first temple in London. George Harrison bought the marble for the altar. He paid for the marble on the altar there where Radha Landaneshwara were put. So he did a lot. And just because he was so famous at that time, it had a tremendous effect on book distribution. I mean, you go to America, in USA, just tell people, this book's got the introduction by George Harrison. They go, oh, George Harrison, really? And become they immediately wanted to get the book. I used to distribute books like that in America. I say, I'm from England, I'm George Harrison printed, wrote this book, And they go, George Harrison, really? Oh, I'm really interested. He was really, really, really big, really famous, world famous, very famous in the USA and like that. So it really helped to sell our books and to get our movement going. So Prabhupada recognized that he was a devotee. He had, he wasn't following strictly everything. At one point he even asked Prabhupada, should I get initiation? And Prabhupada said, you already have a spiritual name. You don't need to get initiated. And George was, what? I have a spiritual name? He said, yes, your name, Hari Son, son of Hari. So Prabhupada said, you don't need to be initiated. It's very nice. But we have to appreciate this. It's very, very powerful. Get people to say Hare Krishna. Just getting them to say the holy name. It's very, very good. A very good sign. If somebody said, even if they say the name jokingly or mockingly or ridiculingly, but still if they're saying the holy name of Krishna, they get the benefit. And Haridas Thakur says, you chant the holy name at Namabas, you're liberated. Just by chanting the name at Namabas, you're liberated. All your sins are destroyed. Just like Ajamila. Ajamila was chanting Narayan, he was chanting his son. But because he was saying the name of the Lord, because it was the name of the Lord, all of his sinful reactions were destroyed. And so he was saved from going to Yamaraj. And he had a chance to, he went after Ajamil had seen the conflict between the Yamadutas and the Vishnu Dutas, then Ajamila totally changed. And he became very aware of his plight, that he'd been living with a very low-class woman, and they had children, even though he was in old age, they were still having young children. And Ajamila understood he had to do something. He immediately left home, and it said he went to Hardwar. He went to Hardwar and he took shelter of a Vishnu temple. And there he gave up his life on the bank of the Ganges and went back to Godhead, perfected his life. That's described in Srimad Bhagavatam. So even you chant at Namabas, you chant jokingly, it's okay. People get benefit. We're very happy. We like people. We want everyone to chant the holy name. So we try our best to give the holy name, to get people to chant. It's very, very purifying, very powerful. Because Kali Yuga Dharma, Hari Nam Sankirtan. This is the Dharma for the age. And the benefit people get by chanting the holy name, in other ages, to get that benefit, they would have to do great austerities, or they'd do temple worship, or they'd do meditation for a long time. But in the Kali Yuga, just simply by chanting, they get the benefit. Kaler dosha nidhi rajan asti eko mahad kirtanad mukta sangha parambrajat. Right, the age of Kali is an ocean of faults. But there's one good thing about it, that simply by chanting the holy name, one can get all perfection. So our real business is to give the holy name, to get people to chant the holy name. It's very important. And so when we meet people, when we distribute books to people, it's very important. Show them the Maha Mantra, get them to chant the holy name. Ask everyone, chant the holy name of Krishna. Okay? So Prabhupada glorifies George Harrison for his efforts in chanting the holy name. And then Prabhupada then turns back and talks about, he said that we have seen some of my contemporaries who were supposed to be big preachers, how they gave up chanting the holy name. And this is very serious. Just like one time, the devotees were building the temple here in Hyderabad. And there was a sannyasi also involved in building the temple. And the message came to Prabhupada. They said, Prabhupada, the Maharaja is not chanting the holy name. He's so busy to build the temple he's not chanting any japa anymore. When Prabhupada heard that, he said, then it will just be a question of time before he leaves Krishna consciousness. So if you don't chant Hare Krishna regularly, then certainly it will happen that you will just gradually drift away from Krishna consciousness. So you can be sure, if you're neglecting regular chanting of the holy name, that in course of time you will bear the reactions for that, and it will carry you out of Krishna consciousness. So very important. You want to stay alive, you want to stay in the Krishna consciousness movement, you have to keep up the chanting of the holy names. It's the most important activity. Okay, we'll read more. While giving instruction to Sanatana Goswami, Lord Chaitanya divided devotional service into 3 categories. Shastra Yukti Nahi Jani Drida Sradavan Madhyama Adhikari Se Mahabhagyavan. A person whose conclusive knowledge of the Shastras is not very strong, but who has developed firm faith in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and who is also undeterred in the execution of his prescribed devotional service, should be considered a Madhyama Adhikari. Such a person is very fortunate. A Madhyama Adhikari is a Shraddhavan, a staunchly faithful person, and he is actually a candidate for further advancement in devotional service. Therefore, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is stated, Shraddhavan Janahaya Bhakta Adhikara Uttama Madhyama Kanishta Shraddha Anusara. One becomes qualified as a devotee on the elementary platform, the intermediate platform, and the highest platform of devotional service according to the development of his faith. So here, Prabhupada is explaining the 3 divisions, the 3 levels of devotional service: Kanista, Madhyam, and Uttama, or the neophyte, the intermediate, and the advanced. That these 3 different levels can be categorized according to faith. So faith is one criterion for establishing these different levels, but it can also be based on knowledge. Depending on one's knowledge. Some people may have strong faith, they may not have much knowledge. And some people may have a lot of knowledge and they may not have faith. We get people like that. They know all the Shastra, but they don't have faith in it. They don't chant Hare Krishna. They may know the Shastras, but they don't care to chant, they don't care to follow the principles. I know all this, yeah, I know. Madhavananda Prabhu was talking how he met this one man, one man came to him to bring him to a program, and the man was telling him how he'd learned all the Shastras and so many verses from the scriptures and knew everything, but at the same time, smoking, drinking, not following any principles. But very knowledgeable, very learned. So just having knowledge, a lot of knowledge, doesn't mean that one is necessarily Uttama Adhikari. He may be, in terms of Gyan, he may have great knowledge. Faith is also like something flexible. We see some people, they they may have strong faith in Krishna. They have very good faith. But still they have limitations about how much they can follow and how much they can commit themselves to Krishna consciousness. In other places, sometimes Prabhupada will classify the 3 levels of devotees based on their love for Krishna, which is different. Now somebody may have knowledge, they may have faith, they may not have so much attachment and devotion for Lord Krishna. They just simply have faith, they believe in Krishna, yeah, I believe. And they know. But they may not have a lot of real devotion and bhakti. They don't chant, they don't care to come to see the deities, they don't want to do service, but they have faith and they have knowledge, but they just don't have the devotion. So the devotion, that's a special classification between Kanishta, Madhyam and Uttama in terms of one's actual attachment and love for Krishna. Now sometimes we see people, they don't have much knowledge, but they're very attached to Krishna. They really have a great love for Krishna. So it varies in different circumstances, there are different ways by which we can classify someone as Kanishta, Madhyam and Uttama. Prabhupada's explaining that somebody in the beginning, they may have weak faith, and if they don't have much knowledge, then it will be easy for them to give up Krishna consciousness. Because they're on the lower platform, they don't have any knowledge, they don't have much faith. So somebody comes to them and they say, oh, you're a vegetarian? Oh, that's very bad. You'll get sick, you'll never be healthy, you'll never be strong. You know, you should eat meat. You know, you get people who talk like this. They will say you have to eat meat. They will say, oh, if you do all these things, if you live the way these Hare Krishna people live, you will just have bad health all your life. You'll never be happy. You'll never be successful. You'll never have any money, like this. So you get, and people, you know, people are a little weak. They don't have much knowledge or faith. Their minds can be affected by that. Just like in America, in Prabhupada's time, in the year like 1976 or 77, while Prabhupada was still on the planet, our movement was being criticized. People were saying that Hare Krishna brainwashed people to make them devotees. And they say that we take them away from their family. And so some families, some wealthy American families, they were in agreement with this. And they actually hired people to kidnap the devotees, to kidnap their son or their daughter, to kidnap them and take them away and bring them back to normal material life. Get them to eat meat, get them to take drugs, get them to smoke cigarettes and do all the things which karmis do. They would get them to do it. They'd get the young boy, they'd bring a woman for him, and they'd force the boy to go and have sex with her. Like they do things like this, just to try to get them away from Krishna consciousness. There was one devotee here in India. His family didn't want him to be a devotee, and his family arranged to have him kidnapped, and they gave him some kind of drugs to make him lose his memory, to forget everything about Krishna. You know what happened? The only thing he could remember was Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He forgot everything else. He couldn't remember who he was, his name was. The only thing he could remember was Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It was quite amazing. And he's still a devotee, and he's a very, very good devotee. Very great devotee. And so, that's the result. That's what happens. People try to take devotees away from Krishna consciousness. That it's not actually brainwashing. Well, Prabhupada said, yes, we are brainwashing because the brain is so dirty. We have to wash it, to make it clean, to take away all the dirt from it. And so we understand the value of Krishna consciousness in that way. So people have weak faith in the beginning, they're not very strong, they don't have much knowledge, they can easily give up Krishna consciousness. So they're considered kanista. But somebody else on the Madhyama platform, they will have a bit more knowledge. Maybe they're not able to defeat the arguments which people bring, but still they have faith and they don't get disturbed. They don't give up Krishna consciousness. But they're not able to defeat the people who are arguing with them. That is the Madhyama devotee. They have some knowledge and they have quite good faith, but they don't have a lot of knowledge. They're not able to defeat arguments. But the person who's on the Uttama platform, he can defeat the arguments. People come to them and he can defeat them. And he can convince them that Krishna consciousness is right. So because he has knowledge and he has full faith. So in this way we understand Kanista and Madhyama and Uttama. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it describes that Tapana Mishra and Chandrasekhar were living in Benares. And Lord Chaitanya had come there, and Lord Chaitanya was doing Harinam Sankirtan. He was doing Harinam Sankirtan on his own. And so people were talking about him. And the Mayavadi sannyasis were criticizing him. So Prakasananda Saraswati, he was there in Benares with all of the Mayavadi sannyasis, and they were criticizing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he is a sentimentalist. He just sings and dances, and he's got some magic power, so he attracts some followers. And so like this, they were criticizing. And so Tapana Mishra and Chandrasekhar, they felt very bad to hear the criticism of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But they couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't defeat the arguments. And so it said that Tapana Mishra and Chandrasekhar, that they were like Kanista Adhikari, because they could not defeat the people when they were criticizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we have to know the philosophy and be able to defend the Krishna conscious philosophy against all these atheistic and materialistic people who argue against Krishna consciousness. This is why Prabhupada wanted so much that we would read the books and study and learn the books, learn the philosophy. He wanted us to know everything and to be able to answer the questions when they come up. Okay. Okay. At the bottom of the page, right, yeah. One becomes qualified as a devotee on the elementary intermediate platform and the highest level of devotional service according to the development of his Shraddha, faith. Again in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, Shraddha Shabde Vishwashakahe Sudrida Nischaya Krishna Bhakti Kaila Savakama Kritahaya. This is a famous verse. This is in the purport in the Bhagavad Gita, where they talk about Vayavasayatmika Buddhi Ekeha Kurunandana. Prabhupada quotes this verse in the purport about how simply by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. This confidential firm faith, favorable to the discharge of devotional service, is called Shraddha. Shraddha, faith in Krishna, is the beginning of Krishna consciousness. Faith means strong faith. The words of Bhagavad Gita are authoritative instructions for faithful men. And whatever Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita is to be accepted without interpretation. This was the way Arjuna accepted Bhagavad Gita. After hearing Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna told Krishna, Sarvamita dhritam manye yammam vadasi Keshava. Oh Krishna, I totally accept as faith all you have told me. So, we have to understand this properly. Having faith in the scriptures, faith in the words of the spiritual teachers, it should not be blind faith. Rather, it should be guided by proper intelligence, not just simply blind faith. That is not very good. Oh, I have blind faith. Whatever I'm told, I do. Whatever I accept, I believe. So somebody tells you, jump off the wall, jump off the roof. Are you going to jump off the roof? This is one of the problems. This is why people are afraid about different so-called spiritual movements. Because in the past, there have been these kind of incidents where you have somebody who leads a cult, and at one point he tells all the cult members, we're all going to kill each other, we're all going to take poison and commit suicide. And they did, you know, there was this thing one time in South America, there were these people, they had come from USA and they'd gone to South America, and this man who was in charge of the whole thing, he got everybody to take poison and they all killed themselves. And so people worry that when you join a cult, when you join some spiritual organization, they worry that, are you doing the right thing? So you have to be careful. Are we just simply blind followers? No, we don't want to be blind followers. We want to understand everything very properly and very clearly. And that is why we read the books and we discuss. It's not that we just simply say you have to believe this, but you have to understand everything with intelligence. That is required. Some intelligence to understand everything in the proper light. And so the Krishna conscious philosophy comes from many great learned scholars. People like Jiva Goswami and Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. And then you have Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladeva Vidyabhusan. They were all great acharyas. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and then our own founder Acharya, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. They were not blind followers. But they had studied everything very carefully. And Prabhupada's giving the example of Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, how Krishna says to Arjuna, now what are you going to do? And Arjuna said, yes, I'm convinced, I'm ready to do what you say. And Krishna had spent time, Krishna had spoken the whole Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. So it was not that Arjuna just surrendered to Krishna and then he did everything. We see Arjuna surrenders to Krishna in the 2nd chapter, and then you have up to chapter 18. Then Krishna again asks Arjuna, so what are you going to do? Are you going to fight? And Arjuna said, all right, now I'm ready, now I'm convinced. And so we have to hear everything, and we have to consider it all, not just blind following. And so if we talk about blind following, then that is not really Krishna conscious process. We must understand everything very carefully. We have to hear, and we have to consider it. This is the correct way of understanding Bhagavad Gita. And this is called Shraddha. It is not that one accepts a portion of Bhagavad Gita according to his own whimsical interpretation and then rejects another portion. This is not Shraddha. Shraddha means accepting the instruction of Bhagavad Gita in their totality, especially Mam Parikshna Mamekam Sharanam Braja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. When one becomes completely faithful in regard to this instruction, one's strong faith becomes the basis for advancing in spiritual life. So we have to develop faith. We develop faith by hearing and then considering, just like we hear about chanting Hare Krishna. So we try it and we see for ourselves, is this chanting actually helping me? Is this really beneficial? And if you consider the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, if you do it regularly, then certainly you will see there's a lot of benefit to it, to help us to control the mind and to conquer over material desires and to give up bad habits which we had before becoming devotees. There are many things to be gained from chanting the holy name. And the Krishna conscious process in general. There are many different things which we do, like waking up early in the morning. Now people may say, oh, this is crazy, you get up so early in the morning. But actually it's very healthy. It's a very healthy lifestyle to sleep early and wake up early. It is good for, and Prabhupada, you know the saying? Early to bed, early to rise. Right, healthy, wealthy, and Prabhupada said, it is a fact. It said it's a fact. Healthy, wealthy, and wise. You do these things. So the Krishna conscious lifestyle is like that. It is not just simply based on blind belief, blind following, but we can see for ourselves how it actually works. It actually makes sense to us. Just like being a vegetarian, is it healthy? You look at all the diseases which are there today. Meat eaters are very prone to so many diseases. All the things which they get from meat eating, there's so many chemicals and so on in the animal flesh. Everything which we do in our Krishna conscious lifestyle is practical. So it's not just blind faith, or you have to do this, but you consider for yourself that if you do it, you benefit. There's a great benefit to following the process of Krishna consciousness. If you don't do it, then what you can see what people are like, those people who are not Krishna conscious, how they live, what is their lifestyle, the drinking and what they eat and how they argue and fight with each other. and how their lives are just simply totally blind and based on ignorance, all centered around satisfying their material desires. So that's a choice. You don't want to be devotee, then go ahead, go back to material world. Try it out and see if you're happy. It doesn't take very long for people to understand, I'm better off to be a devotee. We had one young man in China recently. He had been with us for some time. His mother and father were devotees. And when he was a young man, I said to the father, I said, give me your son. Let me take your son. So I said, okay, if he wants, he can go. So I sent him to another devotee in another part of China, and he lived there for some time. And he was serving there, but he was still thinking, maybe I should go back to the material world. So at one point, he went back he got a job, went back to the material. After a month or two, he came back. I said, forget it. I'd rather be with the devotees. Didn't make any sense. Material world was so horrible. Okay, when one first engages in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, he gradually realizes his own spiritual identity. Unless one faithfully chants the Hare Krishna mantra, Krishna does not reveal himself. Sevan mukhi hi jiva do, swayameva spuratiyada, bhakti rasamrita sindhu. We cannot realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead by any artificial means. We must engage faithfully in the service of the Lord. Such service begins with the tongue. Sevan mukhi hi jiva do, which means that we should always chant the holy names of the Lord and accept Krishna Prasad. We should not chant or accept anything else. When this process is faithfully followed, the Supreme Lord reveals himself to the devotee. The Supreme Lord reveals himself to the devotee. Because we take shelter of the process. We chant the holy name and we eat food offered to the Lord, then certainly you get purified. And it doesn't take a long time. In a short time, quickly, you can understand the benefit, the power of the holy name. Chanting regularly and eating Krishna Prasadam. After a short time, you go back and see what other people are eating. The chicken and the fish and the pig and all these horrible things. It's just so disgusting what people are eating. This is their life. What they drink as well. What to speak of tea and coffee, they drink so many different alcohols, different intoxication things. And so this is the lifestyle of the materialistic people. They have no control over their tongue. So, because they cannot control their tongue, they say all nonsense things. And nonsense talk breeds nonsense thought. And nonsense thought breeds nonsense action. And nonsense action means birth, old age, disease and death. Means you will stay in the pool of material existence. You're not going to get liberated. This is the fact. So we have to be very cautious. Follow the process. Chant Hare Krishna and don't eat anything which is not prasadam. When a person realizes himself to be an eternal servitor of Krishna, he loses interest in everything except Krishna's service. always thinking of Krishna, devising means by which to spread the holy name of Krishna, he understands that his only business is in spreading the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. Such a person is to be recognized as an Uttama Adhikari, and his association should be immediately accepted to the 6 processes, Dadati, Pratigrinati, etc. Indeed, the advanced Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava devotee should be accepted as a spiritual master. Everything one possesses should be offered to him, for it is enjoined that one should deliver whatever he has to the spiritual master. The brahmachari in particular is supposed to beg alms from others and offer them to the spiritual master. However, one should not imitate the behavior of an advanced devotee or Mahabhagwat without being self-realized, for by such imitation one will eventually become degraded. So we're warned again about imitating. We want to follow in the footsteps and not imitate. So we don't want to imitate the Mahabhagawat devotees. The brahmachari is said here, Prabhupada describes, brahmacharis, they should go and beg and offer everything to the spiritual master. Just like we go, whatever we have, we give to the service of the Krishna consciousness movement. The Krishna consciousness movement represents the spiritual master. But don't try to imitate the advanced devotee, the Mahabhagawat. Mahabhagawat devotee, he it was described here, the Mahabhagawat devotee is always thinking how to distribute Krishna consciousness everywhere. He's thinking how to give the holy name and how to open more temples, how to distribute books, how to bring people in touch with the Krishna consciousness movement. This is the business of the advanced devotees. We're to be thinking like that, feeling compassion for the fallen conditioned souls and thinking how to deliver them, how to somehow bring them into Krishna consciousness. We see that people are suffering so much without Krishna consciousness. So we think, how can we help them? What can we do? What can we give them? How to awaken them to Krishna consciousness. And that is why, of course, we do things like festivals. We have Rathi Atra festival. We have Janmastami festival. Tomorrow we have Radhastami festival. We try somehow or other to bring people into Krishna consciousness. So we want to feel that kind of compassion on people, but at the same time we don't want to imitate the Mahabhagawat devotees. We don't want to think that we're so advanced that we don't need to care about anybody else. Sometimes the Mahabhagawat devotee, he thinks everybody's already Krishna conscious, so he doesn't preach. You get people, they become devotees, and then after some time, then they may become big devotees, they may become leaders, they may get some managerial position, and then after that, then they want to become guru, and they want to become acharya. So this is the danger, that we prematurely we want to jump up to these positions. Just like Prabhupada began the Krishna consciousness movement in 1966, and then in 1968, 1969, some devotees thought, we also want to become guru. You know, they'd only been practicing devotion a little while, but they thought, you know, we should also become gurus. So Prabhupada warned them that it will be very difficult. You have to understand you're not ready yet. You need more training, you need more preparation before you can take that responsibility. And so sometimes people, they want premature transcendence. Just like people, well, not many people, but there were people and they became sannyasis, but they were still young men. And young men, they have desires. Young men, they may desire to actually renounce the world, but after some time, again the material desires come in their mind, and again they want to enjoy the material world. So we had people become sannyasis, and then they gave up sannyas and went back into the material world again. And that's not very good. That creates a disturbance to the social order. That initially they're sannyasis and people are respecting them, that oh, he's a sannyasi, he's a liberated soul, he's no material desires, he's very renounced. And then afterwards, then you see them later and somehow they get married, or they've got a girlfriend, or they're back in the material life again, material world. And so this is the danger that creates a lot of disturbance in the minds of the people. That even sometimes people they're gurus, they're spiritual masters, and they have disciples. And then they somehow have difficulties. And so that creates problems for them and problems for their disciples. We saw that when some spiritual teachers get difficulties, that often their disciples also get difficulties. And sometimes when the guru goes away, gives up Krishna consciousness, sometimes the disciples go with him. And they think, I should follow my guru. They don't understand, actually the person's not really qualified as a guru. But they're still thinking, he's my guru. He's nice to me. He's friendly to me. He's kind to me. He's my guru. I should follow him. So, this is a problem. We shouldn't be so sentimental. We should understand what is the actual qualification. And that is why nowadays in our Krishna consciousness movement, before people are initiated into Krishna consciousness, we all study the disciple course, right? Have you all done the ISKCON disciple course? Yes? Yeah, everybody should do the ISKCON disciple course, because it makes it very clear about what is the actual standard for initiation and how to select a spiritual teacher and different things like that. It's very important. Actually, it's a good idea to take the ISKCON disciple course more than one time. To go through it 2 or 3 times is good. And it's good to teach it also. If you want to know something better, then teach it yourself. Just like you want to know Bhagavad Gita better, start teaching it. When you start giving classes on Bhagavad Gita, then you'll learn it more thoroughly and you'll understand it more carefully. So we encourage the devotees, understand everything very carefully. What is the responsibility of the spiritual teacher, and what is the purpose of initiation, and how to select the spiritual teacher. These things are required. Okay, where are we? Huh? Last paragraph?
66.
Okay. When a person realizes himself to be that one?
Page 66.
Own position and should not try to imitate a devotee situated on a higher platform. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given some practical hints to the effect that an Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava can be recognized by his ability to convert many fallen souls to Vaishnavism. One should not become a spiritual master unless he has attained the platform of Uttama Adhikari. A neophyte Vaishnava or a Vaishnava situated on the intermediate platform can also accept disciples, but such disciples must be on the same platform, and it should be understood that they cannot advance very well towards the ultimate goal of life under the insufficient guidance. Therefore, a disciple should be careful to accept an Uttama Adhikari as a spiritual master. So, Prabhupada's giving a lot of instruction there about how we should go about selecting the spiritual master. And he's pointing out that you want to have the spiritual master who is actually Uttama. Meaning, Uttama means he's always thinking how to spread the Krishna consciousness movement around the world. And he should have knowledge and he should have faith. He should be in good knowledge of the scriptures. Lord Chaitanya had also said like that. When Lord Chaitanya was with Ramananda Rai, Ramananda Rai was objecting because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was putting questions to him. And Ramananda Rai said, "You're the sannyasi. I should be questioning you. You're a brahmana and you're a sannyasi. I'm just a grihastha. And I'm not born in a Brahmana family." Ramananda Rai was objecting, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Kiba bipra kiba nasi sudra keni nai, ye Krishna tadvavet se guru hai." Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dismissed this claim of Ramananda Rai. He said, what is important is the spiritual master should know Krishna Tattva. Ye Krishna Tattva se Guru Hai. If you know the science of Krishna, then you can become spiritual master. So it's not that I'm born in a Brahmana family or I'm a sannyasi, but the qualification is that you know the science of Krishna and you can present it and you can give it to others. That is the qualification of the spiritual teacher. And that he's genuinely concerned to deliver people to Krishna consciousness. So we have to understand properly these different positions of devotees. Kanista, Madhyam, Uttama. Are there any questions?
Maharaj, I have two questions. The first pastime that you mentioned about the Hyderabad temple making and the Maharaj, that he is constructing the temple is not chanting. And then Prabhupada said it's just a matter of time and he will leave. So similar one video I saw on YouTube, it's about Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj telling to Prabhupada that he is not able to chant his round because the temple construction is going on so nicely, so full-fledgedly. So then Prabhupada says to him this construction of the temple, all these noises are also the kirtana. So this is not different. So one part we see how Prabhupada is chastising not to chant, and then another part he is glorifying the construction of the temple.
Prabhupada never told Tamal Krishna not to chant his rounds. And Tamal Krishna never said he wasn't chanting his rounds. Tamal Krishna Maharaj said that he knew the bylaws, the Bombay bylaws better than he knew Prabhupada's books. He may have said like that, but he never said he was not chanting his rounds. There was no instance where he ever said that. I don't know where you're getting your stuff from, but I know what Tamal Krishna said to Prabhupada. And he said to Prabhupada, I know the Bombay, the municipality bylaws better than I know your books, because he was working to get permission to build the temple. But Prabhupada encouraged him. He said, you have to build this temple. But he never ever told anybody, don't chant your rounds.
Like Maharaj was facing difficulties in chanting of the round, like dealing so many people in that.
I never ever heard anywhere he was having difficulty chanting his round. Never. He said the only thing was he had difficulty that didn't get enough time he wanted, all the time he wanted to study Prabhupada's books. But chanting of the rounds was always there. But Prabhupada wanted him to do that service. They had to get permission to get the construction done. So he was working for that. But there was never any time where he was seeing difficulty to chant my rounds. Prabhupada would you would never hear that anywhere.
Maharaj, another question is like over here in the beginning you mentioned about whoever chants the name of Krishna even once, he can be considered as a Vaishnava when Satyaraj Khan asks. So like in India, like there are a lot of people who chant the name of Krishna, but like this verse can be applied to them also? Like
Yes, they're chanting the holy name. Of course, some people chant the holy name, they have the desire to merge. They're impersonalists. They maybe chant Mayavadi intention. Mayavadis also chant the holy name, but their idea is that they will give up the chanting of the holy name. And so it's a question of where they got the holy name from. You see, in the Western world, it's a little different. People in the Western world, they got the holy name from Hare Krishna movement. Just like in Prabhupada's time, there was one theatre show. It was a theatrical drama that was on, and it was in London, and it was a thing called Hair. That was the name of the show. It was called Hair. But in this Hair show, they would sing Hare Krishna. And Prabhupada said, this is very good. He said, they've got the Hare Krishna mantra from us. So he said, they will benefit from that. And it happened that some of the girls who were dancing in that show, sometimes they'd come on Harinam Sankirtan with us. Because they were chanting Hare Krishna in the show, they wanted to come to the temple and be with the devotees, and they would come out on Harinam and Sankirtan with us and chant. Yes?
Maharaj, this question is that if a devotee wants to practice devotional service, but his parents are not supporting him, so what should he do in that case? Should he he should convince them, or he should just leave his parents, or what should be done in that case?
Well, what do you want to do?
Bhakti.
Well, do it. You worried about your mother and father? You're worried about your mother and father? You think you can save them from birth and death? So, you're not a child. You have some independence. You want to be a devotee, you can be a devotee. If you want to go home and be mummy's boy, go back to your mother. That's your choice. And you go home for a little while. After you've been home for a little while, you'll soon come back again. Family life. Your mother and father. We say, Janami Janami Sabi Pita Matapai Krishna Guru Nahi Mili Bhaja Hariyai. That everyone has got a mother and father. Even the dog and the worms in the stool and the birds in the tree, they all have their mother and father. Only the fortunate living entity has got a spiritual teacher, and by the grace of the spiritual teacher, they can get Krishna. So if your mother and father are real mothers and fathers, they will encourage you, stay in the Krishna consciousness movement. Don't go back home. Don't go back to that life. Any other question?
Maharaj, in general, like after spending a few years in Krishna consciousness, and then a person, when a devotee asks a question, so then he is judged on the basis that spending so many years and still he is not convinced with the philosophy. So then he stops asking questions and continues the blind faith he has. So what can be done?
What can be done? Well, maybe he needs better association. I don't know how he can't understand the philosophy. I've been in the movement some years, he should be understanding the philosophy. I don't know how it could happen like that. He cannot be hearing. He must be doing something wrong. He's definitely doing something wrong. Otherwise it couldn't be like that. He's been in the movement some years and he cannot understand the philosophy. Why not? He didn't study the philosophy, didn't read it, didn't hear it. Did he chant? Did he properly engage in devotional service? There's definitely something wrong. He's doing something wrong. Otherwise it couldn't be like that. Yes?
Maharaj, sometimes we get this tendency in duplicity. We show off something that we are not, like great devotee. How to remove this tendency, like how to be like humble or natural.
How to be humble and natural? How to avoid duplicity? Well, if we do make a show of some duplicity, then Krishna will correct us. Krishna will not allow us to get away with that. And Krishna will arrange that some situation will come up which will purify us and bring us to a more natural, humble platform, rather than being duplicitous. It does happen. We do have sometimes devotees, that they're maybe even in big positions, and somehow they get problems after maybe after a long time, but still the problem comes. They may be quite well qualified materially. Materially, they're very good, but they're not straightforward. As you say, some duplicity is there. So Krishna arranges to correct that. It happens. You know, there was one devotee, he was quite a leading devotee, but he was going to some kind of nightclub or something, you know, where there were women and like that. And then one day somebody saw him. Somebody saw him, and you know, then they told him, they said, you know, you should give up. You should give up your position. And so then because he'd been doing it for some time, and so he understood that, yeah, actually he should. So he gave up. He gave up everything. But he still stayed in Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada preferred that. Prabhupada didn't expect, for example, you know, like Junior Haridas go to the Triveni and drown in the Trivedi. Junior Haridas, Lord Chaitanya rejected him. So Junior Haridas gave up his life in the Triveni. But Prabhupada didn't expect like that. And when some sannyasis fell down, he encouraged them to stay in Krishna consciousness and to continue, but just to take up another position. Take up another position. They couldn't be sannyasis, so at least they could get married and live in the householder ashram. And they can still preach and still be devotees. And there were some devotees who did that. There were some very nice devotees who, they had difficulty. They couldn't maintain the sannyas position properly. So they gave up and they became householders and took up some less prominent service. So Prabhupada thought that's better. Didn't like people to go away from Krishna consciousness. You know, sometimes people may say like that, oh, you know, he's a fallen, so he should just go away, we don't want to see his face, you know. But Prabhupada didn't mind if they stayed. He liked that some of these devotees, they were very experienced and qualified materially as managers. And he was happy that they stayed in Krishna consciousness rather than go away. So Krishna corrects. Krishna does correct. We just have to be willing to recognize how Krishna is purifying us and correcting us. These things happen as we go on in the Krishna consciousness movement. Gradually, even little things, Krishna will correct us, and we become more careful, become more conscious about it. Krishna himself, from the heart, the Chaitya Guru, and sometimes externally also, from other devotees. So simplicity is important, not duplicity. We don't want to be duplicitous. Be straightforward and honest. And that will be appreciated. Yes?
we should have that compassion that people are suffering because they don't have Krishna consciousness. So he is saying that we do go about having that mode, we go out, but as soon as we meet people, we think that we see that they are ignoring us, they are not even caring for us, they are not listening us. So that energy what we have before, we have that mode that we lose that mode and we get discouraged by doing it. So how to maintain that or how to avoid that, I mean, so that we maintain our energy and enthusiasm by doing books.
You keep reading Prabhupada's books. Keep reading, studying Prabhupada's books. And that way then you'll keep a healthy attitude to the world. Don't ever think that, oh, I've read all the books, I know everything. You need to keep reading, keep purifying yourself. Keep reminding ourselves that we were also fallen, we were also suffering, we were also in a helpless condition. Somehow we came out, we were saved, and we should feel compassionate on others. So even though people, they don't really want help, and they object, they complain, why are you disturbing me, why are you bothering me? But because we care about them. So you have to be very determined. And that's why you have to keep reading Prabhupada's books, to keep up your enthusiasm, to keep up your determination. Don't think, of course, don't think it's so easy. Don't think it's so easy to make devotees, to bring people to Krishna consciousness. No, we have to be determined, we have to be patient. So you have to keep hearing. All right? Any other question? Okay, then we will stop here. Yes, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So Maharaj, when I start reading the book, I don't feel like reading. I can hear that on that lecture for 4 hours, 5 hours, that is fine. But when I start reading on myself, I feel very bored. So
You feel very bored.
I can listen lectures on YouTube for 5 hours, 6 hours. That's fine. But when I read, personally I try to read in books or online, I feel very bored. So what can we do?
You have to preach more. You're not preaching enough. You have to get a group of people together and preach. Read with them. Don't just read on your own, read with others. Make a group and you read together. And Prabhupada explained, more important than reading is discussing and explaining. And so you do that, you'll get more interest in the reading. You just read on your own, yeah, you could get bored, you could sleep. But if you read with a group and you discuss and explain, it will be more enlivening for you. So you should do that. You should get a group. You have a mobile phone, you get a group and you get some people together and you read with them, discuss with them. This will stop you from feeling bored. Yes?
Maharaj, this question is that as we hear people who cannot perfect in this life while doing bhakti, so they get a chance in another life. So they either they become rich person or they get birth in a Brahmana family. So if some person is having taken birth in an aristocratic family, so generally we see that they don't generally do bhakti. So what will his question is that what will happen to them? I mean they did bhakti in last life, but they are not able to perform bhakti even in this life. So what will happen to them? Either they will fall down or they will do bhakti in future.
Yes, that's a danger. That danger is there. That you may be born in a wealthy family or aristocratic family. You may not take bhakti very seriously. We say these people are Naradamas. They're the Naradamas, the lowest of men. They have the opportunity, but they don't take it. So that's the danger. That's why we don't just simply want that kind of situation. There is a risk there. Of course, not everybody who is a Brahmana and who is an aristocratic family, not every one of them have been devotees. It doesn't mean that they've been devotees. It means they were fallen yogis. It means, what kind of people take birth? People who practice yoga for a short time. They hadn't practiced very long. So they take birth in that kind of situation. They'd only practiced a little bit. And then they didn't complete anything. They deviated. So then they go to higher planets and they get sense gratification there. Then they come back to earth and they take birth in the wealthy or aristocratic family. Maybe even Brahmana family. But then it's not a very great opportunity for bhakti. They need to get help. They need to get associated. But still, they're born in a good family. There's an opportunity. They can attract the mercy of devotees. The most important thing is to get the mercy of a devotee. They get the mercy of a devotee, then they can take up Krishna consciousness. So many of these people, Brahmana or aristocratic people, they need that encouragement to take up Krishna consciousness. They have to be helped. Just because they're born in that kind of family doesn't mean that it's so easy for them to become devotees. They still need the devotion. They need association. They need to get the mercy of devotees. And then can help them. We see a lot of people, they go to Middle East. In India, they were not involved with anything. But they go to Middle East, somehow they become devotees. I was just in Bangalore. I met this one man. He told me he lived in Japan. And he was in Japan and he met the devotees in Japan and became devotee there. But in India, they don't find it so easy to become devotees here. There's so many distractions, so many other things. But when they go away from the culture, they appreciate it more. They're away from India, they're in these materialistic societies, Japan, and the Middle East. It's Arab civilization, and so you're very much alone there. You're isolated, so they're very happy to get association and to take up Krishna consciousness. Makes it much easier for them. Difficult here in India to get people. So get the youth, get the young people, right? Get the young people, before they get too old, before they get married, before they get settled in family life, get them, and make them devotees. That's a good way, good start. All right? Any other question? Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai.